everybody's ready, I'll introduce Mayor Jim Wayne, Mayor of the City of San Bruno, and I'll let him introduce the council members. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, and once again, welcome to the City of San Bruno. As Sam said, I am, and I have said for the last 18 months, Jim Wayne, the very proud mayor of the wonderful City of San Bruno. And I'm joined today by two of our council members, Irene O'Connell and Rico Medina. The City of San Bruno is deeply concerned that PG&E is dodging its commitment to pay restitution to make our community whole after its explosion and fire that killed 8 of our citizens, destroyed 38 homes, damaged 70 more, and created a giant hole in the heart of this city. The reason we are here today is that Pacific Gas and Electric Company is stalling negotiations to settle millions of dollars in restitution to the San Bruno community. We are calling upon PG&E to immediately return and bargain in good faith with the City of San Bruno. We believe the utility owes our community restitution to right the wrong they have done to our city, our community, and our future. We are very frustrated that PG&E doesn't understand its negligence was responsible for the biggest natural gas disaster in our nation's history. Now they simply want to walk away after doing the minimum required by law. We will not let that happen. We are doing 2 things to ensure that PG&E does right by San Bruno. First, today we call upon PG&E to return and negotiate with the city in good faith to make things right for our community. Secondly, San Bruno is also pursuing a second path to restitution from PG&E and its shareholders to the California Public Utilities Commission. I'm announcing today that San Bruno has formally submitted a petition to become part of a global settlement with the utility. We took this action this week and discussed it with the CPUC at their meeting yesterday. San Bruno has suffered irreparable harm above and beyond the physical damage done to our city. San Bruno, much like the Gulf Coast after the BP oil spill, will also be known as the site of the worst natural gas explosion in the United States. PG&E has within its power the ability to make this right, and the CPUC has within its power the ability to ensure that the company be forced to do so. The consequences of this tragedy will not fade. The scars of PG&E's explosion and fire will last, and the San Bruno community needs to be healed. We want PG&E to recognize and pay restitution for the great tragedy they have caused in San Bruno and help restore our community and rebuild the public's faith in their company and its own operations. It should be noted that PG&E did establish a trust to pay for direct damages to city property and has funded $12 million to date. But the trust fund only pays and compensates the city and the community for the damage it has done to the minimum extent of the law. We are concerned that PG&E seems unwilling to acknowledge the momentous damage it has done to the fabric of our community, which will last for generations. I thank you, and I'll answer any questions.
Maybe I just got the phone with PG&E as spokesperson, and he said that there are plans to come back to the table this week. Is that your understanding?
We just heard that. I just heard that a few moments ago. So hopefully what we're doing yesterday and today is in fact fruitful.
And then if that's true, that you're back at the table this week, would you then abandon the CPUC?
We are in fact on parallel courses, and we'll just see where those lead us.
Mayor, what are you going to use the restitution money for?
Well, hasn't been decided specifically, but let me read you a paragraph. Some of the ideas we developed included endowments for scholarships for children of the neighborhood, contributions for youth sports leagues, additional mental health resources for city staff, contributions to local nonprofit organizations which support the local community, and support of large capital projects such as libraries, Memorial Park, etc. These are from a letter written to me from Chris Johns in August of last year.
And just for clarification, Mayor, this is completely different from the trust fund at PG&E.
Totally different. The trust fund is just to repair what we'll call the infrastructure, sewers, pipes, restore the canyon, all of those things.
Mr. Wayne, where did the talks break down? Was it over the amount of the restitution, or were there other sticking points?
Well, as far as the individual and intricate details of that, we do have a confidentiality agreement with PG&E, so I wouldn't be able to give you the details. But let's just say that they broke down. We feel we're at impasse until just a few minutes ago. It looks like we're going to meet again this Friday.
So you wouldn't be able to tell us what kind of the amount they've been
No, I wouldn't be able to.
And how long has negotiations been underway?
We started the preliminary work on negotiations last August sometime, and we formally met in December of last year.
Do you have a mediator or?
No, we're working 3-on-3. It's a small group of individuals from San Bruno and individuals from PG&E that are comprising the negotiating teams.
Has it been contentious or has it been going down a good road?
Well, I think we've reached a couple of small agreements, but for the most part, a lot of it is redlined and not getting to where we want to get. We feel that we have in fact been stalled in these negotiations, and that's why we brought it to the public. We have, over this last 18 months, as you all know, concentrated on rebuilding this city, rebuilding the neighborhood, both physically and emotionally. And that's where our main concentration has been this last 18 months. We haven't said a whole lot about some of the internals we're working out with PG&E, but we felt it was very important to bring this to the media at this point in time because we did, hit a stone wall. Looks like we've broken through that wall based on what I've heard this morning.
So when they've said in the past, when they've said to you that they didn't want to give any more money, like what is the, well, how did they explain that? I mean, did they say, well, it's enough?
No, I didn't say PG&E didn't want to give any more money. As I said, we've had discussions with PG&E, and in fact, I've talked to Chris Johns about it, and he wrote this letter in August saying, yeah, we agree that we should have these discussions, and these are some of the things that we should talk about. But as far as the specifics of it and the monetary value, that's what we're talking about through negotiations.
Mayor, can you give us like the ballpark figure of what you think is fair settlement?
No, I wouldn't at this point in time.
And Mayor, could you address, do you feel a duty to the citizens of this area to make this happen?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. We've talked about this for many, many months and have talked to PG&E indirectly and directly about this particular situation. You have to understand, along with rebuilding the community physically, all the infrastructure that we're having to do, we just approved contracts for consultants for all the new underlying things that people really won't see in the neighborhood, and the streetscapes and everything. There are people up there that are in brand new homes that are getting ready to cut a ribbon that in fact look out on a cyclone fence that still has hearts, dried flowers, and yesterday some stuffed animals. So you can imagine the emotion that this city is still going through. We had a small leak, a relatively small leak, which I would think PG&E a few weeks ago would consider routine, on a little line that went into someone's house. I don't want to minimize it, but within a few minutes after that leak, I got calls on my cell phone from a lot of media, some of you here, saying, tell us about the new explosion. We had helicopters circling the neighborhood, which was about 2 miles from the blast site, and of course, police, fire response, PG&E response. So the city's still on edge. It's a very difficult situation. Unfortunately, a lot of people will never recover, but we're working very hard, on our end to make this happen. And this negotiation with PG&E is a large part of it. This community deserves it.
Mr. Wayne, can you explain a little bit about the global settlement that you're joining the CPUC?
Well, as I said, the CPUC did request that we work with them in a global settlement. As far as that was just decided yesterday, as far as the ramifications and the dollar amounts of those types of things, we just started that discussion.
But is the CPUC's like suing PG&E? Is that what that is, or?
No, the CPUC will be charged with implementing fines and penalties to PG&E. What those amounts I don't know. But there is a distinct possibility that going forward, if we can't work anything out with PG&E, something may be carved out. We don't know.
Okay, so maybe some of that fine money goes towards San Bruno.
It's a distinct possibility.
Gotcha.
What specifically did they walk out on? What is it exactly that they're done? If they've got a $100 million trust fund, and that trust fund is managed by somebody separate aside from PG&E, what is it that PG&E exactly is not doing?
Well, first of all, the trust fund is not $100 million. The trust fund with the city of San Bruno is $70 million. They have a community fund, that's something else. The $70 million is specifically for reimbursement of direct costs, and those costs being some of the financial costs we have encumbered, if you will, for staff to take care of the situation up there in the Glenview Crestmore neighborhood, for repiping some of the sewer lines and water lines and cable TV lines and all of the different things that we have done. We felt we were entitled to something else on top of that. Those funds are only to be used for that, and the trust fund language is very restrictive as far as what those funds could be used for.
So you entered into negotiations with PG&E to, in effect, get more monies to pay for additional things?
Yes. What those additional things are, I just read a paragraph from Mr. Chris Johns, are some of the things that we've talked about, but there's nothing specific laid down yet.
Well,
it sounds like-
when you say they walked out, the reason I'm asking, I just talked to Senior Vice President PG&E, said we walked out nothing. We have a meeting scheduled later this week. We intend to make this fully and fairly correct with PG&E. I don't understand the disconnect here.
No, I didn't say they walked out. I felt we were at impasse. There was some issues that we wanted to talk to them about, and we haven't heard. We haven't heard in a timely manner.
Well, the news release you put out clearly
Pardon?
indicated that it was something more of a walkout or a cessation of negotiations rather than an impasse.
No, that's exactly.
There's a news release right back there, Tom.
So if I understand it, you were always scheduled to meet on Friday, or
No.
are they indicating that they're now willing to talk about what you asked about on, before? When did you last negotiate with them? And if there was no cessation, then how can you be at impasse? I mean, you wanted something and they didn't want to talk to you, or can you get in any kind of detail there? Because we're now left with because there was reported that basically that they walked away.
Well, we talked to them a number of weeks ago. We had reached what I would call the impasse at that time. There was no concrete resolution to some of the questions that we had and some of the issues that we wanted to resolve. I did receive a call from Chris Johns directly saying the principals should talk about this so we can get back to the table. I met with Mr. Johns last week, and since then we haven't had any direct correspondence about when we can meet again, what we're going to do, other than literally just an hour ago.
Well, so as far as Chris Johns was concerned last week, were you at impasse? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, like, okay, did you ask him to do something and he didn't want to do it? I mean, it's kind of strange. You call us confidential, but you're obviously going public here. We're kind of left with, they're saying that there was no impasse, there was no disagreement, that they were negotiating in good faith. You're not saying that they weren't negotiating in good faith. But we're left with a big pile of mush here.
Well, it's not confidential, the fact that we have negotiations or have been conducting negotiations. The confidentiality lies in the amounts and what's been requested. So there's no big secret there. I think Mr. Johns asked me to meet with him a week ago because he felt the same situation. They weren't getting anywhere. And you can call it impasse, you can call it what you want. But when you're not getting anywhere, that's why he called the meeting.
So the purpose of this was then to force, embarrass, prod, cajole, whatever, to get PG&E to come back to the table that they said, at least to me, that they were always willing to come back to and expect to do later this week anyway.
Well, maybe that's what they said to you, but they haven't said it to us, other than an hour or so ago. So we wanted to get it out to the public, let them know what we're doing, in fact, on behalf of the city of San Bruno, and I'm saying I hope it worked. We'll find out Friday morning.
Who from the city is negotiating directly with PG&E?
No, we'd rather not get into that.
Okay, but you've met with Chris Johns to negotiate?
I met with him to talk about what we could do to get it back on track.
And what happened in that conference? Did that one where he said we can't do anything? Or did you say?
No.
Sorry.
They were going to get back to us, which they haven't formally as far as setting an appointment, other than an hour ago.
Do you remember what day it was last week when you met?
Monday.
Okay, so you met with him Monday last week?
Yes.
And in that conversation, you were like, well, you were trying to get this talks back up and running.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, I'll get back to you. And then here we are, it's now Wednesday, and you hadn't heard from him until an hour ago.
I haven't heard from Chris Johns directly myself since I spoke to him last Monday.
Okay, but the city hadn't heard from, there was no word from PG&E to the city at all since then?
Our people, our negotiators heard just very contritely that if there's anything we need to get back to you on, we'll call you. Well, we haven't heard anything since then.
Mayor, is it a fair description to say that the restitution money is going to be used to help rebuild the city's spirit?
I suppose you could say that. There's a lot of things that, you know, that could be done to help the city going forward. We're not sure, we haven't put it, what we've done in this whole you know, terrible situation is involve the community in every step along the way. And so any funds that are received from PG&E as a result of these negotiations will in fact involve the entire community. So that's why we as a council haven't really set anything in stone as far as what we wanted and what we intend to do. It is not intended, however, to take care of general fund payrolls or bolster any shortages that every city has right now. That's not what it's for.
Mayor, why go public with this now, put this pressure on PG&E? Why not keep working with them? If now they're saying, oh, we are willing to meet, and you disagree about whether there was a walkaway or not, how frustrated are you that you're going with?
Well, I'm glad I called you together. I could have come in here a half hour ago and said, hey, we're meeting Friday, so go on home. But I figured I owed you the courtesy. I'm very encouraged that, in fact, the reason you asked your question and the answer to that is what you see right now. We have, in fact, received a call from them to sit back at the table this Friday. So I believe it's worked, and I'm encouraged and hopeful.
That wouldn't have happened if this, they had done this today?
I don't know. I would say this is probably a pretty good idea. Yeah.
What I understand is if this is basically a monetary issue, how could you be at impasse in the context of, was it over a dispute over the amount of money? Is it timing? Like, do they want you to exhaust the compensatory fund and then go on? Or are they trying to say, well, we have a lot of things we've got to pay for and we'll get back to you kind of thing? I mean, do you want some, I'm trying to figure out if it's not money per se in a number, or if you disagree about that, is this about timing that you're having the impasse about?
Well, as I said, Jackson, I won't get into the details of it, but it's a combination of all of those things. There are a lot of other things that we have no control over. There is, in fact, you know, huge, we believe, huge and substantial PG&E fines coming from the CPUC. We don't know what those are going to be. We have concerns, and maybe it's a concern we shouldn't have, but suppose, you know, the gas operation goes belly up. What happens to everybody? I mean, who knows? You know, they say they're a substantial company, and we say that's great. But if you're that substantial, why can't you take care of us?
Do you know if these are, or can you speak to if these negotiations that you've been having, are they related, or do you think they'll affect the negotiations that PG&E has with the residents, with the lawsuits?
They're two entirely separate issues. We're not privy to the amounts and the details of those. We are, in fact, the way I look at it is we are, in fact, a victim, just like the residents, in a different way. We are victimized as an entire community, not as a small family, and there are a lot of things that we as a community have to take care of over and above and beyond the infrastructure.
So Mayor, it's still fair to say that it was a breakdown in communication.
I think that's fair.
Thank you very much for coming. We'll let the mayor and the council members go. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.